All right. What's up, everybody? I know it's been a minute since you've probably heard from me. It's just a little beautiful thing we call life. Life happens. You don't have time to do things that you enjoy sometimes, and sometimes the other things are more important. Um, but hi, yes, welcome back. I am alive. Um, but I wanna I wanna kind of get this started again. So we're gonna get right into it, I guess. So you're probably wondering, what is this all about? What's so important that's gonna make you, come out of hiding, so to speak. Well, I today I want to ask you a question. So, Goosebumps. What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say the word goosebumps? Do you think of that feeling that you get when you feel uneasy, or the weird things that happen to your skin when you feel strange? Well, in my strange mind, I'll tell you what I think of when I hear goosebumps. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about the freaking 1990s classic TV show and classic book series. This show, while it came out way before my years, way before years I was born, this show is genuinely one of my favorite random shit that I like to talk about. And I probably know a little bit too much, but that's fine. Sometimes you have really niche things that you know a lot about, and that's what makes other people interesting. I grew up on this TV show, and I always feel like it has been a part of a core memories through my early childhood. And the first episode I think I watched when I was about 7 or 8. Today I want to talk about one of the most well-known, not particularly my favorite. I'll get to that maybe another day. If people, want to keep hearing about me talk about Goosebumps for no apparent reason, just a random thing. I'd also like to maybe do, like, I don't know, book reviews or something. I kind of want to get back into reading a little bit because I feel like I've been a little bit of a degenerate when it comes to like education and educating myself. I feel like I've kind of just like not cared a lot. Um, but anyways, uh, today I want to talk about one of the favorites from a lot of people, and see if they still hold up with the nostalgia. And the first episode that I want to talk about is The Haunted Mask. Now, this episode might be one of, if not the most recognizable Goosebump episodes that has ever been made. It's based on the Goosebump book that's made of the same name, written by R.L. Stine. The episode was a part of the first season and is originally aired in October 27th of 1995, just in time for Halloween. So, let's just get right into the episode itself and let's talk about the episode. The episode opens with our introduction to the haunted mask itself. It's a very weird, and I'm sure to most kids nowadays it would even be scary. With green skin and sharp teeth, it probably scared the ever loving shit out of me as a kid. When we pan over to the other mask that will be more important later, it leads to the man himself, which we learn is R.L. Stine. He describes the episode by saying the haunted mask is a frightening Halloween story about a girl named Carly Beth. The horror begins when Carly Beth puts on the evil haunted mask, and it ends when she discovers there is nothing more powerful than the love of her family and friends. So, right off the bat, it's a little silly, but I think that's what kind of the goal is here. Is like it's kind of supposed to give you a little creeped out, but it's also not supposed to. It's a little lighthearted at points. Then he closes his monologue with the famous tagline that is seen on a lot of the first edition books and also this TV show, Viewers Beware, you're in for a scare. So then, after that, we get our iconic title card that classic Goosebumps logo and that green ooze dripping font, and obviously this right here, it'll make your nostalgia go crazy. At least it does for me. Then it gets into the episode, and we are shown two girls walking down the street in the middle of the night, by the way. And then at the bottom of the screen, green letters pop up. The haunted mask pops up on screen. The two girls walk to a new costume store that has a bunch of weird masks in the window. And, what the fuck is that? Suddenly, a man appears in the doorway, and he has this weird mark on his face, which I'm sure is explained later, but what is that even supposed to be? Even as a kid, I was like, what the fuck is on his face? Anyways, it then jumps to Carly Beth and her friend Sabrina looking for a pumpkin, which, like, why the fuck are these kids out past midnight on the streets and in a pumpkin patch? Bad parenting aside, she starts to hear noises and gets scared. One of the many times this happens in the episode. Not gonna lie, kind of gets annoying, but it's a part of her whole character and her character arc in the end, so I guess it's fine. And obviously no hate to the actress. She actually does well with what she's given. But then her friend, who knows that she's scared of literally everything, proceeds to scare the hell out of her in this pumpkin patch, and she basically is just like, it just goes on, and she's like, okay, sorry, but like, fuck off, go get your pumpkin. When she's looking for these pumpkins, a hand appears out of this hay, and it freaks Carly Beth out so much that she screams yet again. She turns around, and there's a figure with a pumpkin head on, and the pumpkin stands up that was on the ground, and they start grabbing her, and she screams again. Which then is revealed that these two punk-ass kids, Chuck and Steve, are the asshole characters who just basically bully the hell out of her and harass her for the rest of the episode. So definitely been there, Carly Beth. Definitely been bullied, definitely went through some stuff and whatever. Anyways, this isn't about me. This is about silly Goosebumps. She then storms off as they laugh, and Sabrina follows after her. Sabrina apologizes, and they have a kind of nice moment, but, like, the friend also just kind of looks like she's completely done with Carly Beth's shit. Like, look at her face when she hugs her. Like, she's like, oh my god, if this girl doesn't get her shit together, I swear I'm gonna lose it. Anyways, then we get some foreshadowing when Carly Beth says maybe someday they'll know how it feels. It then shows the creepy old guy has been watching them the whole time, and the weird shit on his face, and he's looking all ominously. Still want to know what the fuck's on his face. Like, what is that shit? Carly Beth then goes home, and we see her mom made her this weird... Wait, why did her mom make a plaster of her daughter's face? Don't you have to, like, mold that to get the size and shit? Look, I'm no sculpting expert here, but did she, like, plaster Carly Beth's face when she was asleep or something? Because how did she... You know what? I actually don't care. Apparently she made it because she loves her, which is foreshadowing from what we heard in the beginning of the episode. But it freaks Carly Beth out so much, which, yeah, I'd probably have the same reaction when she says, it looks like it smiled at me, it looks like it winked at me, or whatever. And then her mom's like, why don't you like it? What's wrong with it? And she's like, it's just creepy, and whatever. And then she's just like, but I like it, I promise, or whatever. And so her mom's like, oh, hey, yeah, by the way, you remember that small, comment that didn't matter that you made about being a duck for Halloween? Oh, yeah, well, I went ahead and made you a costume, which, like, okay, thanks, Mom, I guess. Cuts away, and it's just the plastered head, and wait, did that thing actually just smile, or am I tripping? Anyways, she then goes to her room, only to get assaulted by her younger brother, Noah, her very annoying younger brother, Noah. And I mean, he basically goes full smackdown on her, and he's just calling her scaredy cat, which, like, yeah, dipshit, you assaulted me in your creepy-ass house. Like, of course I'm gonna be scared by that. Anyways, then we cut to the next day, and this girl, the next thing we see is this girl eating this moldy sandwich. Like, why is the bread green? Like, what is that? Anyways, those kids, Chuck and Steve, scare the shit out of her once again, and they are like, oh, we're so sorry about whatever happened last night, blah, blah, blah. And then they decide to put a worm in her sandwich, which is gross. And these kids, Chuck and Steve, these kids are the type of kids that grow up to end up in like a frat at college or something, and then they fail out the first semester just to move back home, and then they have to go work at Burger King for the rest of their lives because they decided it was more fun to be an asshole to be an actual good person, and now they have to, do nothing with their lives. Anyways, way too deep for a kids show. She then eats the sandwich, which, like, disgusting, and everyone laughs at her, which is pretty traumatizing for a child, I would think. She then goes home and cries, and she decides, you know what, this is the point in time where I'm gonna take back control of my whatever, and she rips up the duck costume that her mom made her. She then decides it's her turn to go out and get a scary costume from that weird shop from earlier. She then walks into the shop, and she's like, wow, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen, which is like, no, this shop is gross as hell. It's like got dust and spider webs all over the place. It looks like nobody's been in there for years. And she's like, oh, this is cool. And I'm like, our definition of cool is completely different. So the weird guy then notices her, and he's like, oh my god, what are you doing here? And in this weird, like, vampire-esque voice, which I guess, I mean, okay, sure, way to make yourself not look like the bad guy here. And then he's all like, oh, we are closed, but it's like 4 p.m. Like, what shop would close at 4 p.m. right before Halloween? I mean, you're a Halloween shop. Why would you close, like, at prime time, kids getting out of school, parents getting off work? Like, what? Okay, sure, dude. It's like, what kind of business are you running here, weird face guy? It's like, you know what? You can have 5 minutes, it's okay. And so he gives her 5 minutes, which I'm sure it's not 5 minutes of scream time. None of the masks are really appealing to her. They're not scary enough, I guess. Even though one of them, they look pretty scary, I guess, for a kid. But then she notices a back room, which she then sneaks into, and she finds the 6 masks that sit on top of a shelf. We pan to the green one from the opening. The face guy then barges in and is all like, no, don't do it. And then he slams the door behind him and he locks it, which is strange. Then we see the mask again, which are obviously green screen, and they all move around, and like, yeah, that would probably make me shit myself as a 12-year-old. And it makes the face guy shit his pants too. Then he tells her that all the masks are not for sale. But then he gets a little weird for this and touches her shoulder. Like, I'm worried this is gonna go somewhere where it's not gonna be good. But it's like, also, I'd rather take the mask. It's probably better than whatever the hell he's planning. Anyway, she tries to buy the mask and he says no. And so she decides, you know what, fuck it, I'm stealing it. So she then steals the mask, runs out of the store, throws the money at him, and he's just standing there and he's screaming. He's like, no, he doesn't even try to run after her. As soon as she makes it out, she's like, wait, what am I doing? And by the time she turns around, he's already closed the door and locked it behind. Which is like, weren't you just 20 seconds ago trying anything in your power to make her not buy it? And then you just let her run away with it? Sure, dude, okay. And so she goes home and she tries the mask on for the first time, and her voice changes with the mask, and immediately it sinks into her skin and makes it look like real skin. So first off, huge shout out to the makeup and costume design for the mask here, from the teeth and to the gums and to the skin, just to make it look like it's actual real skin. It definitely looks like more than a CGI crap we get nowadays. So if this was like redone into nowadays, it'd probably be some CGI bullshit. She then scares her little brother with the mask, and he's like, take it off, but it won't come off. So there's our first instance to see maybe this mask isn't everything that we think it is. And I remember this as a kid, this scene, and, I would imagine what would I do in this situation, and I think I would not go well for me. I think anything would be not great. She then gets it off, and the brother's like, all right, I'm gonna head out and not show up until the end of the episode. Bye. So she grabs the plastered head in the living room of her own head that her mom made. She puts it on a broomstick and puts a red piece of cloth to symbolize, like, the blood of the head, which is gruesome. And so, yeah, I guess it's supposed to be like symbolism of, the old her is this plastered head, and now the new her is this green, creepy looking mask, which I guess is all a part of the mask plan to eventually, like, take over and become one with Carly Beth or whatever. And she then leaves after her mom is like, she avoids her mom from the phone or whatever, and she walks to Sabrina's house and is randomly just grunting and just running at people, and these people are just like, okay. And isn't it kind of funny how it's acceptable to do shit like this one day out of the year? Like any other Tuesday, you run up and scream at people, you end up in jail for harassment. But Halloween, nah, it's fine. Anyway, she assaults these kids trying to just enjoy their night. Like, good job scaring them for life, I guess. So Sabrina touches the mask when she gets to Sabrina's house, and she's all concerned of what it's made of and how it's making her friend act all differently. And she asks Carly Beth to take it off, and Carly Beth is like, no, I'm not taking it off. And so then she grabs Sabrina and shakes her and screams and makes all these noises. Not really sure why, but I guess I'm not really sure what I'm doing here either. So, yeah, I guess it works. She then just says, oh, it was just a prank, bro. And she's all happy scaring people, and her friend is like, okay, what's going on here? This girl is crazy. So she then scares multiple children trick-or-treating, and she's just having the best time of her life. Everything's great. Everything's wonderful. She then gets to this one house where she is trick-or-treating, and she knocks on the door. The mom answers, and immediately she's like scaring the lady's kids. She's like, finally, the only parent with some sense here. She says that she's going to call the police because she's scaring her children, and whatever. But nothing ever comes of this. So I guess that's a plot hole. Carly then reveals that the mask is making her act this way, and that she's acting this way because she has the mask on, and it's not really her. And she then runs away out of shame. And then we cut to see what Chuck and Steve are up to, those assholes, and they're hanging out in the cemetery, which, like, can't imagine a more fun place for two kids to be. Chuck then starts separating his candy on a tombstone, which, like, have some respect for the dead, man. And then Steve is like, hey, can we, like, not be weird? Can we, like, do this somewhere else other than a cemetery? And Steve's all like, man, don't ruin the vibes, dude. Like, we're in the cemetery. It's like, okay, I don't know why these kids are in a cemetery, but sure. But then they eventually get found by Carly Beth, and we kind of start to notice that Steve is just kind of sick of Chuck's shit as Carly sneaks up on them. The boys then shit their pants, and the mask is forcing them to apologize to the plastered head of Carly Beth, and they are all, we only messed with her because we liked her, which I still don't really understand why kids do this to their crushes to this day. I did it as a kid. I know that I had, like, crush on girls in, like, second grade or whatever, but I would just, like, bully them or whatever. I'm not really sure what the phenomenon is there, but I guess it's like we're just trying to gaslight ourselves into believing we didn't like them, or trying to make it seem like to everybody else that we don't like them because we don't want to be, like, made fun of, or we fear rejection, so we neglect our feelings and deflect, bad feelings back at the person that we actually have feelings for. But this is too deep for a Goosebumps show, so let's just move on. Then they eventually apologize to her, and probably the creepiest moment of the episode happens when the head starts to speak and is like, help me, please. And the boys are like, okay, no, and then they run away. And Carly Beth then buries the plastered head in the ground. And I'm sorry, but I can't help but laugh at the grunts and the noises that she's making. Like, was all that really necessary? She then runs back to find Sabrina, and where she does a very bad job of lying about where she's been for the past couple hours. But I guess Sabrina doesn't really care as they walk back into her house. Carly then tries to take the mask off, but the mask won't come off. We then get the reveal that the mask has no end and there's no line to show where the mask ends, and her eyes have completely changed. She then freaks out, has a full-on panic attack, and runs away, and it kind of seems like her friend's going to chase after her, but she just doesn't. Not really sure, and it's not like Carly Beth got like that far from her. Carly Beth literally stops in like the front yard, but I guess the friend is like, oh well, I gotta go get this candy sorted instead of run after my friend who's just run out into the streets in the middle of the night by herself. Sure, good friend there again. She goes back to the novelty shop. Carly Beth goes back to the novelty shop to get some answers, hopefully, and it turns out that the face guy actually knew that she was gonna come back, and he was like, oops, sorry, can't help you. He then reveals that the mask is no mask, but a real face. Which, like, does this guy, it honestly makes sense. I mean, look at him. He looks like the type of guy that would, take the faces off of other people and, what have you, Silence of the Lambs type stuff. He goes on a monologue saying that the faces were once beautiful faces, but nobody loved them, so they turned ugly and scary. But Carly Beth was the only one that ever loved them, so now the mask somehow feels attached to her. And I don't know if, like, the mask are, like, supposed to be shown to be in love with her, or if they're just, like, trying to, I don't know how to interpret this, honestly. It's just the whole lore of what the mask isn't really ever really explained. But it's interesting to think about and try and come up with your own ideas of what it is. The face guy then says, he's like, sorry, this is your face now. You can't do anything about it. Have a nice life with this green face and being an asshole all the time. But then he's like, well, actually, there is one way. And it's like, dude, you couldn't have just started off with that. Like, why'd you have to, like, give this girl even more, like, stress already than she's already dealing with? Like, just get to the point, bro. He then tells her that the only way she might be able to get the mask off is with a symbol of love. But then he reveals that he was the one who created the faces so that he could hide from his own insecurities, which, like, bro, you do realize therapy's a thing, right? Like, just go to therapy, my guy. No one's gonna hate on you for it. But, as it turns out, he tried to do it himself, which is the reason he's got that weird, bubbly thing on his face, and apparently he's also turning into a monster. The faces then suddenly start to move with a very bad green screen effect, or special effect, or whatever this is, digital effect. Gotta love the 90s digital effects, as he then is like, run, get out of here, all the masks are gonna attack you, and so the masks start like floating through the air. It looks really bad. A low point in the episode, honestly. The mask then chase her all the way to the cemetery where she buried the plaster head, and she then digs it up. She shows the floating heads the mold of her face, and she's like, get away, this is me, this is whatever. And then they just fly away after like 5 seconds. So that was a pretty fast conflict there. Then she is able to take the mask off all of a sudden, and it just becomes a normal mask again. We then get her annoying ass little brother again, going all, I gotcha, after he tries to say that her face still has the mask on after she comes home. Like, bro, just shut up at this point. Like, why you gotta still mess with her? She's obviously been through a lot tonight. But I guess the overall lesson that she learned is that, the value of family and the value of love is more important than anything. We then get our classic Goosebumps cliffhanger with her stupid ass little brother putting the mask on and laughing all evil to the mom and Carly Beth, scaring Carly Beth to death. The episode then cuts back to R.L. Stine, who ends it with showing his parents at the end of the episode, and it's perhaps the stupidest thing I've ever seen in a TV show where it pans to his parents, and I think the image explains itself. We then get the credits, the iconic green monster blood slowly making its way down a black screen with the classic theme song, a certified banger of a theme song, and that was The Haunted Mask. I think the episode is obviously one of the better Goosebumps episodes that they've made. The acting by Catherine Short, who played Carly Beth, was pretty decent for the script that was given, and when you take into account that she was also still a kid actor, you also have to remember that Goosebumps, for the most of the series, I mean, this isn't Breaking Bad here. This isn't any kind of like phenomenal TV show. This isn't The Sopranos. This isn't whatever. This is a kids TV show that relies on kid actors. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it can be good, it can be bad. So, not going to hate on the child actors. I feel like actually in this, everybody did pretty well. Sometimes the facial expressions on Sabrina's face are a little questionable, but, I'm willing to look past it. These actors, can't really hate on them. They probably already have more money in their accounts than I ever will. So, good for them. After the success of not only this episode, but all of the books as well, The Haunted Mask quickly became the face of the Goosebumps franchise. While not my personal favorite episode, I can appreciate what the story did for the future of the series. While it definitely does have its problems with the plot holes, the annoying characters, and some very questionable parenting, I still think the episode could scare someone today. With the series being my personal introduction to horror, a genre that I now very much enjoy, this series has had a very large impact on my life. In an interview, R.L. Stine has said that was basically the goal of the whole book series and everything that he did with it. And to think that this kind of just started out as a little idea in his head, and now he's impacted so many lives that he doesn't even know. I just want to extend a personal thank you to Robert Lawrence Stine and to the people of Scholastic for making this a core memory for a lot of people that, grew up on these TV shows and these books. But with that, if you made it this far into the journey, please consider following this channel, as if this kind of stuff intrigues you, I'd really like to know, so that if I continue to do more episodes, people will actually enjoy it and actually listen to it. But with that, have a good night or day, and I will see you in the next episode of whatever we want to call this. Peace out, everybody.